Hi, I'm Jason Skoby, the director and creator of GHOSTBUSTIN 911.
And I'm Cory Deveney. I'm the editor and co-producer.
And we're going to do some director's commentaries for episode 3, so hope you enjoy.
Oh, hey, I'm glad you're here, actually.
So this scene was
I wanted to dispel some of the myths about
one of the on-the-job hazards that Ghostbusters would have to face. Getting possessed.
We wanted to make it look like, you know, their equipment is substandard, it's old, outdated, and one of the things that a lot of companies have with having a headquarters running operations off-site is getting money, getting budgets. You know, they look at the numbers that come into them on the computer. They don't know how bad it really is out in the field. And so one of the running jokes is that the Ghostbusters are using all this really old, antiquated equipment, and it's causing a lot of problems.
Right. It's like pretty much the very first design containment unit you see in the movie. That's what they're using, only it's 25 years later. There's got to be something better out there, you know. This is probably just a hand-me-down from another branch they just installed in their headquarters. All the proton packs kind of piecemealed together. They got computer guidance systems in them, but they weren't originally there to begin with. They weren't built into the design. They were kind of an afterthought, you know, so they're not foolproof. And now I had these contacts I bought for Halloween when I was wearing a Satan costume. They're like fire, so I thought they look so great we have to use them somehow, and so I kind of wrote this scene where my character gets possessed.
And Rico, being the cryptozoologist expert on exorcisms and stuff, we decided to do like a demonstration of how we remove evil demons. And he uses like this really simple, old-fashioned way of doing it.
And isn't this something he researched that they actually would do back in like medieval times or something?
Yeah. The only I love it when he's drinking the holy water.
Right.
And in reality, well, fake reality, all we would have to do is open up a trap and pull the demon out.
Right. Or they use in the video game, the way they handle possession is they coat somebody with slime like they did in the end of Ghostbusters 2 with possibly charged slime. But I didn't want to have slime shot in my face. Unlike Pat, I didn't want to have slime shot in my face. So. But that comes in a later episode. We needed like a zip pan there. We shot the beginning of the scene with me, you know, before all the makeup and everything, and then we shot the middle of it after I went upstairs and did all the makeup. So the beginning and the end were shot at the same time, and then we had to find a way to cut the middle together and make it look like Tyler wasn't possessed anymore. And the way that Jason came up to do that was a zip pan. Maybe the containment unit made a loud noise that the cameraman was startled by.
Yeah. We've done that zip pan a few times now.
I'm surprised with how great it looks.
It looks flawless. You know, we could have 7, 10, 12 days in between a take. And all we have to do is a zip pan, and it looks like it all occurred within the same few seconds.
The other one, yeah, right, is the popcorn trap.
Yep.
That we did. Kenny pops popcorn in a discontinued trap, and we were having trouble getting that trap to work. I should save that for when we actually have that scene. But that was another zip pan that we used, and like there was like a month in between shooting.
Yep. And we only had one day with Veronica Tully.
Right. Yep.
But we'll talk about that
when it comes.
Shows up.
I think it actually shows up in this episode.
Yeah, after shooting so many individual scenes, I lose track of which scene is in what episode now.
Right.
It's one of our generic establishing shots outside our firehouse.
Now this actually isn't inside the firehouse. This is a realtor's office that let us shoot there. And we thought it would be perfect to, you know, show the cutaway of us panning up to the top window of the firehouse if she was actually in the second floor of the firehouse, that whole desk would fall through the roof and crash the garage.
So we shot all of our office shots at a different location and tried to blend them as much as possible. So the firehouse exists in 3 dimensions.
Yep.
One dimension is my basement. That's the containment facility.
Yep.
The second dimension is the actual firehouse in the garage area. And the third dimension is this realtor's office where we filmed all the office scenes and the break room scenes.
Yep.
And we blow it up later on. You'll see that.
And now this is the debut of our actress Calissa Brown playing Sarah Charleston, in-house attorney. And the St. Paul branch is one of the most accident-prone branches, in Ghostbusters Incorporated. So they actually have an attorney on site that she's her head's about to explode with how much trouble these guys get into. And talk about how this character was created, because she didn't originally audition for this character.
This funny story about Calissa Brown was we had put out a casting call for a Ghostbuster who we were going to introduce a really flaky Beverly Hills, Barbie doll type character.
Yeah.
And
we called her the Beverly Hills Ghostbuster.
Yeah. With the fake nails and the California accent, and she was going to be an expert that came into the Twin Cities to help them out with a certain ghost. But
didn't she turn out to be smarter than all the guys, and they underestimated her because she was kind of like Legally Blonde in a way?
But when we got all of these submissions, I just saw Calissa's headshot, and immediately I had a character for her just based on her look. And it turned out to be a lot better than I thought. She's supposedly from out east, but she has the heaviest Minnesota accent that I have ever heard.
That's true.
So,
there's one scene where she says, "Let's go over our latest batch of lawsuits."
Our batch of lawsuits.
And this is another debut here. This is our friend
Pat Duff.
Pat Duff. His stage name he kind of goes by as Will Duff. And he's the guy that we met when we were doing that full day shoot at our firehouse.
The firehouse itself. I mean, when you have a Ghostbuster car parked in front of a firehouse and cameras set up all over the place, you tend to draw a lot of attention. So we were getting people walking by and stopping us and asking us what the heck was going on. And,
right.
And it got to be really annoying because we couldn't close the sidewalk down. We didn't have the money for the permit.
Right.
So we just had to deal with it. And then when we wrapped up shooting, this guy comes walking up telling us that he's an actor.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, at first I thought he was like 16 or 17 years old.
Yeah, we had no idea. He looks like a real young guy.
He's 25 years old. And so I was like, wait a second. We have been thinking about a character who's like the new guy that gets picked on all the time. And if you're really 25 years old, this will work out perfectly.
And I also want to stress, too, we came up with this idea of the rookie Ghostbuster coincidentally before the video game came out.
Oh, yeah. A lot of this was shot about 2 years before the video game.
And this is a popular taco chain doing our taco time stand-in. I don't know why that just became a running joke. The guys always go out for tacos.
Yeah.
But when we met Pat, the original scene, I think I was the one who kind of came up with the concept of the rookie getting slimed, the guys hazing him with a ghost that would slime him. And that involved shooting somebody in the face with slime.
Yeah.
So when we asked him if he'd want to play this rookie character, because he's the young pipsqueak that they just pat on the head and go, hey, get out of here, kid. And easily hazed, picked on. But the guys send him into a room to get slimed by a ghost, and that meant shooting him in the face with slime. We asked if he'd be cool to do that, and he goes, yeah, that'd be awesome. I was like, oh, okay, well, guess I won't be worried then.
Little did he know what he was getting into, and we'll talk about that when we get to that scene.
Right.
But I love this scene right here because Ron is up to something.
Yeah.
And nobody really knows what.
This builds up to much more coming up. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
And he's cannibalizing parts all over the place.
And it's apparent that Sarah Charleston hates Right. And you see that look that she gave him when he was looking at the coffee maker.
Right.
I mean, I even got chills down my spine when we were watching that footage. In
He's
fact, I was shooting this scene right now. I was the camera guy.
And that was our little... Somehow Tyler became this ladies' man in here. That was one of the little flirtations that he had throughout the series.
Yeah. I don't know how that evolution
I don't
came
either.
about, but it just happened.
It's so not me. It's not, you know.
Well, it's not you in reality, obviously, but that's what makes it good, because Ron, no, his character wouldn't be the ladies' man.
But you wouldn't believe how much
list,
women Ryan gets.
And then my character is such a pissed off guy all the time. Maybe it's the lack of the ladies.
Welcome aboard. You are now
So this was an idea that really evolved and really snowballed, was the training video for safety protocols for Ghostbusters. And this is originally where this shot of Kenny looking at the gun. Well, actually, no. Originally is how you first saw it, but I used it again in here as him blasting himself in the face.
Because it's freaking hilarious.
Right.
Well, that was originally just one of those shots that we were going to do as like introduction, as a beginning of the episode with all the characters.
Right.
We ended up not going with that concept until episode 6.
And this is a guy from one of those zombie pub crawls in Minneapolis. And this is my parking lot. My house sits right in the middle of the zombie pub crawl route every year. So we wanted a zombie Ghostbuster, like a Ghostbuster that got bitten by a zombie and succumbed to being a zombie while he was in full gear with a proton pack. What happens when you put a nuclear accelerator in the hands of a zombie? So I just pulled this guy who had great makeup off the street and threw him in a suit and shot him there. I didn't shoot him, but you know.
This is the copy room of said realty office. It also doubles as the break room.
And this is where Fresh Meat gets his name. We nickname him Fresh Meat just because he's toast.
And that the uniform he's wearing, that's a size XL. And it looks like he's wearing a triple XL because he's such a small guy.
Right.
So we put him in that outfit in a couple more scenes in the future. You'll see. It's just funny. He looks like an Oompa.
Right.
And he's got the long torso and the short little legs and all those waddles when he's wearing that big super suit.
Now this scene is another scene that was piecemealed together, shooting at different times. This was our day-long shoot at the firehouse. And it was months before we shot the rest of this scene.
Yeah, now we're going to see what Rico was up to with all the parts. And
now this is Jason's basement.
He did steal the microwave, so now
right.
The Ghostbusters are without a microwave.
And now this is in Jason's basement, that set. And doing it like this, you get a lot of continuity mishaps happening. Like, we had to go back and review footage that Ryan was wearing that face shield, so we had to make sure we had that prop on hand. Now this is in the house I was living at the time in Oak Grove, Minnesota. So this is like an hour drive from Jason's house at yet another day. So, and I moved into my friend's house and they had this unfinished part of the basement that looked like a test firing range. So
we used that to test out Ron's new Super Proton pack.
And now this was a pack I started building, but Jason is, 100 times better at prop building than I am. So he finished this thing off and added all these light effects that are just, I love how this thing turned out.
To all you Star Trek fans out there, you'll recognize that green mesh thing. That's actually a nod to the Borg ship.
Ah, nice.
I had that metal piece hanging out with the perforation, and I held a green light behind him, like, oh, that looks good. We're going to put that on the proton pack.
Some of these things, like that plasma ball, that's an automobile effect that I bought at Pep Boys. That
yeah, it was one of those pendants that you plug into the cigarette lighter.
Yep.
So I had to power that thing with a 12-volt battery pack just because of that.
And then some of these parts on that pack, the cyclotron, an isochronous cyclotron is a much more powerful, cyclotron than a regular one. So the cyclotron had to be like huge, and Jason used the top of a trash can. So that's just a wastebasket can.
Yes, as a matter of fact, trash cans are the best props, the best base for prop building.
Containment unit is a trash can.
The containment unit, the round part is the bottom of a Brute waste can.
Ah.
That's the top of a Caribou can.
Caribou
garbage can.
And the gun on that pack is actually a toy, real Ghostbusters Ghost Popper toy that I kind of revamped.
And then later on, you're going to see another trash can in a future episode, but we'll talk about that later.
Now, this is the rookie's first day on the job. I mean, he was sleeping there overnight, and they woke him up in his pajamas in the middle of the night to strap this proton pack on him that explodes.
And it's funny that they use him and not the test dummy that's standing right there.
Right.
And we want to make it a running joke that Ron is in love with this mannequin.
Ron's just protective of her and doesn't want to use her for tests.
In a future episode, you're going to see something quite amazing that we're going to do with his character. So.
And this we just... Didn't we have sheetrock that we crumbled and threw in our faces for dust and everything?
Always a hilarious gag joke with a guy wearing glasses.
Yeah.
His glasses are covered in dust.
One's covered in dust.
And we use a fog machine to fill the place up.
Yep, fog machine, and then we threw some green tagboard on the wall to create a hole in the wall. Like
the green screen effect.
When the explosion, occurred, it blew a hole up into a couple floors of the ceiling and everything.
The rookie did it! Meet your own cleanup duty.
Our paranormal pests and poltergeist
another Twin Cities Ghostbusters homemade commercial.
Another revamp of the commercial we saw earlier. Now these...
did you notice in the background that LED message board saying,
I was just going to talk about
remember to vote November 2nd.
This was when Jason...
My PSA for Halloween when I first built this car back in... Oh my god, that was the 04 election.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that was a long time ago.
That was what, Bush and Kerry?
Yeah, I think.
But those light boards are just something that Jason got... that his work was just throwing out.
Yeah, and UPS damaged boards. Well, they worked.
Right. They weren't designed for outdoor use, but they worked for many years on your car there.
Yeah.
Well, we got a call. We were back here before. It happens to be my Uncle Louie's place.
We wanted to get the Italian Mafia involved with the Ghostbusters.
Right. And this is...
I live about 3 doors away from this really quaint Italian restaurant called Romulo's.
Right.
And I wanted to shoot something mob Italian.
We're gonna treat this one with kid gloves and take care of everything he has.
Stereotypical.
Right. Oh, real quick.
It's funny that Vincent is actually French.
Yeah, right.
And Uncle Louie's like, this big time Italian mob boss type character,
Real quick, you may have noticed that there was a model of Jason's car on his dash as we were driving up here. Now, Jason built that model when you were sick for 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's a 1/25th scale Caprice wagon that I turned into a Ghostbuster car to look exactly like mine.
And it was 100% accurate. And then when we went to MarsCon, we just did a public appearance.
Yep.
He had it displayed on top of the car, and this girl was taking a close-up picture of it, hooked it with the little strap from her camera, and knocked it and shattered it completely
a million
on the parking lot.
Look, I paid you it's good money.
Okay, this is something that I want the audience to know, that there is absolutely no swearing in any of these scenes.
He did not swear. The guy playing our Don here, he didn't swear at all. The worst thing he had was called someone a pickle-headed nincompoop.
A nincompoop was the worst that he ever said. But the scenes seem kind of dry with his not colorful language, so we just randomly inserted beeps in there, the appropriate spot, like what Jimmy Kimmel does, the unnecessary censorship.
Right.
That's where we got the idea, just to throw random beeps and cover the mouth, and it sounds like he's the dirtiest.
It sounds like he's on The Sopranos.
Yeah.
I used and I cut in all these, the INGs on the end of words to make it sound like he said effing, and the SHs from other words to make it sound like he said, SHIT and stuff like that. And And this cast here, we should talk about these guys that played our mob guys. They were phenomenal. Now
Every one of these guys were way underutilized. I wish we could have shot a whole episode with these guys.
Right.
That guy here on the right, he moved on to, was it that HBO series?
Stewart, I think his name is, yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
So he moved on and out, and Joe Johnson here, he got the acting bug. This is his first appearance on camera, and he started auditioning for other parts, and he's been in a handful of independent films now. So he's up and out, and
this guy over here.
This guy is hilarious.
Rich Love, actor Rich Love. This is the first thing he did for us. We used him in like a commercial we shot and everything too, and we severely underused him in this scene. All we had him do was eating spaghetti.
Yeah, I just wanted a guy in the background just stuffing his face.
You know, and he's such a
Goomba guy at the same time.
He's such a Goomba mob guy. He really communicates that through those facial expressions and just the way he's eating, like yeah. But didn't he audition for this scene by sending you a picture of him like as Marlon Brando in The Godfather?
Yep, he actually took the time to make himself look like a mob guy before submitting his headshot.
And the more we got to know him, the more we talked to him, he really kind of reminded me of like a Jim Carrey kind of sense of humor. Just really quick, really hilarious.
Except funnier than Jim Carrey.
Yeah, true. This is one of, I think, maybe the second thing we kind of pulled Calissa Brown out to shoot as Sarah, and I really liked her in this scene. Just how angry she was with us.
As your attorney, I advise you not to do business with these people.
Look, do you have any idea what will happen if we don't fulfill our obligation?
This was actually a really hard scene to do.
Yeah.
It was so cold out.
Right.
Without a hat and gloves. And you see the steam coming from us.
I had a haircut from the inside and the outside scenes were shot at different times. And I had a haircut done. Mine didn't look at all like I did, so that's why I had to throw that hat on.
Don't quit your day job, man.
Yeah, no, don't quit your day job.
Poor Ron.
Which is funny. He's not the funny guy there, but he's the funny guy in the entire series.
Right.
And this is our little commercial for Monster Cops.
Right.
It's just like our show. It's a reality show where they go out and follow around a bunch of hit squad type people that kills monsters, vampires, whatever.
And where ours is kind of Ghostbusters meets Reno 911, this one kind of seems more like Cops meets X-Files to me, you know? I think it's an ingenious idea.
I love shooting.
There's that zombie costume.
Yep, the zombie costume. I love shooting in reality style because
it's very forgiving.
It's very forgiving. The only thing is we've learned now that we got to dial back on our camera movements.
Right.
You know, I wanted a lot of, jumpy, moving camera, but when you're watching it on a big screen like this, you actually get a little sick.
Yeah.
There's so much movement going on.
Especially
so
like...
You'll notice that gets toned down as the episodes start moving along, that the camera seems more fixed. The worst that we do now is snap zooms.
Yeah. Oh, now here's the proton pack explosion scene. And this originally, you guys shot this before I met you, where a proton pack goes critical and Ryan just throws it out in a field, and you actually did a pyrotechnic effect.
A failed pyrotechnic effect.
Right.
We were going to blast a mushroom cloud. My parents had some land out in the middle of nowhere, and we had set it up to with like 20 gallons of gasoline, and we were going to ignite it and make a white hot mushroom cloud. I've done this effect before. The only drag was the only time that we could get out there to do it, it was really windy, so the wind was blowing the gas fumes away and it went to ignite. So we just had to come up with a completely new concept to make a proton pack explode. And I like the way we did it on this try because it's an actual like 1 kiloton nuclear explosion.
Right, an effect a friend of ours did.
To most of the audience out there who who don't know, this site is an actual military base that hasn't been used since Vietnam.
That sign is real.
They used to manufacture ammunition and test ammunitions here. This base used to be out in the middle of nowhere years ago, but now it's only 10
Population
minutes away
built up
from
around it, didn't it?
downtown. Yeah. And right now it's being selected as the top site for the new Vikings stadium.
Right.
So this is probably like the last video footage you're going to be able to see of the base in its natural state. Because now they have signs everywhere and things are being torn down. It's like they're prepping this location for a new Vikings stadium.
And the funny thing when we shot this scene, the thing I really found amusing was, so here we are. We actually drive up to the front gate. That's, you know, an actual checkpoint. Those signs, like I said, are real. There's a card reader and everything. And there were cameras on tall poles out there.
There were 6 cameras down this driveway.
Right.
And we didn't realize this until the end of shooting, where we tried to do everything in one take. So as the car pulls up, the guy's on the phone, they're trying to, the proton pack goes critical, they hop in the car, and they take off like a bat out of hell. And we literally, we'll throw this funky looking nuclear device at the doorstep of an army base
with a red
and
blinking
take
light
off like a bat out of hell, and then turn around and come back and do it again. We did it 6 times,
and we're all acting like it's gonna blow any second.
Yep.
So we hightailed our car.
We were freaking out.
I think it was like the third take where I said, "Guys, do you realize that we're throwing a black box at an army gate and running, and then we come back to load it up and do it again?"
All on videotape.
Yeah.
6 cameras watching what we're doing.
But we never got hassled, so.
And we picked a location away from the army base that would have been in the exact direct line of sight.
Right.
So we were actually consistent for once in this shot, where these guys are standing and we see this mushroom cloud. That's exactly where the army base is.
Right. And now the person that did this effect for us is a guy I know from my Drinking with Ian days, Nick Bocek.
If you look at that house in the background, that's one of the Frank Lloyd Wright design homes.
Oh.
I am so in love with that house.
Wow. And we couldn't think of a way, you know, I was testing out trying to do a mushroom cloud effect that just wasn't working out. And our friend Nick, he's also kind of a Ghostbusters fan. He's still got his original toy trap and proton pack from when he was a kid. And he's doing other projects, so he's really torn in all different directions. But he found the time to do that fantastic mushroom cloud for us, and I loved how it turned out.
I love the
Jason, you look like you're gonna throw up in this scene. And I think your acting was great here.
I love the digital decay, because it's like
that was
after
an accident.
the nuclear explosion, and there's some
like there's
magnetic interference
or radiation wave finally hitting us, and that was an accident. That was just a flub on the tape.
Yeah, it was a bad videotape.
Yep.
So that was episode 3, I believe. Coming up is episode 4, so we hope you enjoyed this. Stay tuned.
Yeah. So now, again, we could talk about other names in here. Calissa Brown, she was awesome. Chad Cooper, he was the host of the video. And another underused actor. We got to get him back to do more stuff, too.
Yeah, Darkness Radio. We'll talk about that later.
Someday we'll get to you guys.
2009. Most of this was shot in 2004.
Right.